Willie D Live.
It's Willie D, y'all, back with another episode of information and instructions to help you navigate through this wild, crazy, beautiful world. In the studio, Quanell X. What's up, King?
Man, I'm doing well, black man. How are you, brother?
Hey, man, I can't call it. I might stall it.
I completely understand.
Absolutely, man. First of all, thank you for your service, man. You have been on the front lines for as long as I've known you, and I've been knowing you over 30 years.
Yes, sir.
Like, man, what is it like to be on the front lines every day? Like, you know, I've been on the front lines a few times, you know, but I'm talking about every day, all day. Every time something go down, they calling you. They calling Quan. Let's get Quan on the line. What is that like? What type of responsibility is that?
Let me first start appropriately by saying, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there's but one God to whom praise is due forever, the sender of Moses and the Torah, Jesus, and a perfect gospel, and the final written revelation to a prophet, Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah. I greet you in the greeting words of peace, of Assalamu alaikum, to the Christian family, to Christ be the King, and he is the King, and in his name we pray. And I greet my Pan-Africanist family, Ashe Hotep, of your viewing audience, and I greet the family of the Black liberation struggle for freedom, justice, and equality, Black power. Those words simply only mean people organized working eternal resurrection. Brother, to answer your question appropriately, and this is the kind of show we can just keep it straight real.
Absolutely.
And just get straight to the point and be honest. It's a painful journey, brother. A lot of people see it and they think, oh man, I would love to be like that. I would love to do that. I would love to be an activist. Oh, I would love to be out on the front lines fighting for our people. But they don't see what's taking place behind the scenes in so many different arenas to make sure you're not successful, to find things they can put in your way as opposition, where there be a number of things, and they don't see the traps. If you're a real freedom fighter, and this enemy that has always been against the rise of black people, believe you have any real power, then they set traps for you. And many brothers and sisters who want to be an activist don't understand that it takes tremendous character. A lot of us want to be activists, but we're morally and spiritually bankrupt. We want to be pastors. We want to be political leaders, but we don't want to be tested severely. And so, brother, I could tell so many stories of the pain side. And I would say to those young brothers and sisters, if you ever desire to be an activist, let me be straight with those young people. There are certain things that you will never be able to do if you truly want to be successful and have a real impact in our community with our people and have an impact against the enemies of the rise of black people. There are certain things you cannot do. That's why you've never seen me, brother, at a house party, in a nightclub, in a strip club, in a bar, not even a cigar bar. You've never seen me out partying and kicking it like that because I know what the enemy is doing. If you're real in what you're doing and you're effective, they'll produce what is called a psychological profile on you, and they search your weaknesses. And the minute you threaten an entity that has the power to exploit that weakness, then they'll set the stage to do so. But young activists don't understand that it's not the enemy that you see that is the most dangerous. It is the enemies that you don't see. It's those who smile in your face, who pat you on your shoulder, who say, Black power, salam alaikum, I'm with you, brother. I'm with your sister. But you don't know what they have been involved in their private lives. And they have been flipped. And they are now being exploited by the enemies of black people, normally three-letter agencies, and then they take that one, male or female, and give them a specific said job description. See, you want to be an activist, but you don't want to think like that. You don't want to deal with all of that. Brother, a lot of our people would be shocked to know who the real enemies are among us as a people. They often call them gatekeepers. But gatekeepers are only effective if you're going to that gate to eat. Gatekeepers have never controlled Quanell X. They never made me not do something or do something. And those gatekeepers look like us. But unless you're going to that gate to eat, then they have tremendous influence over you. And most of the gatekeepers are bought and paid for by the very enemies black people have been fighting to get free from. And so most of our quote-unquote activists, political leaders, they become compromised. Why? Because they need employment. Because financially they can't survive. And the enemies of our people know this. And so they rob you of your revenue stream. And then what happens is you have to go to a gatekeeper for employment.
Isn't that the same thing that happens with those who subjugate the ones who block people like you, people like me, black people, period? Isn't that the same thing, what they do on a power side? They need employment. Even though they know certain things that they do is dirty and low down and shameful, they do it anyway because they need to get to that money. You can even go all the way back to slavery and say they did that because they was trying to get to the money. So it ain't a whole lot of difference.
I was on CNN one evening with Don Lemon, and he and I both were in the dressing room, and I thank the brother for graciously inviting me to his show. And we were talking, and I said to Brother Don Lemon, I said, brother, you're a very intelligent brother. I said, but there's a significant difference between you and I. I said, brother, I'm free. I say, you're not free. I said, because the very people that want to keep their thumb on the rise of black people sign your check every day. Their signature's not on mine. I said, I'm free. I said, they can't threaten to take a platform from me because God gave me my platform and I can open and close on any corner. I said, brother, that's the difference between you and I. And it's not just good brothers like him because he proved it. Well, they proved it to him. The minute he said something that they didn't like, then they took his platform from him. Then Elon Musk manipulated the brother and then made him look foolish to the world because the brother wanted respect in his contractual negotiations with Elon Musk. That's the problem, Brother Will. Our people are not free who look free to us. Our politicians are some of the most handcuffed men and women that you will ever meet. Some of them truly mean well. But when you look at their campaign contribution rolls, 99% of the money comes from outside of the community. And so if you are trying to be a politician and you know that political donations and contributions is the mother's milk to a cow, well, then you got to seek that money because it takes money to win. Well, if you're taking that money from outside of the constituency that you represent, he that pays the piper picks the tune. They've never been able to do that with me. That's why you've never seen me run for Congress. You've never seen me run for state rep, city council, none of that. If it's based on a popularity contest, I believe I would do very well. But I know better because then you got to be a political whore. I'm being real right now, brother, because you got to say to every constituency that you are seeking a vote from, you got to tell them what they want to hear. You got to say to them what makes them feel good. And you got to sell your masculinity down the damn drain to seek a vote from them. And I've never done that. And that's why I would never run for a political office because I believe in what God says. You love the sinner, but you hate the sin. You can't send me to the transgender community and I put on a dress to make them feel comfortable so you would give me your vote. You can't send me to a constituency that says young boys and young girls should compete in the same sports, and yet this is our political pack, and we want boys and girls, no matter what they identify with, in wrestling matches together, and then I support that because I need their political endorsement. I don't believe in none of that. And so that's the huge, significant difference. I love all of my brothers and sisters, even those who have spoken ill of me and said negative things about me. You have never, ever seen me publicly condemning any one of my brothers or sisters, in spite of what they may have said about me, because I understand and I know who the real enemy is. And that's what hurts me about a lot of our leaders in music, entertainment, politics, business. We love tearing each other down. We love character assassinating each other with our tongues. And we're like the scripture, your mouth has become an open receptacle. And what is a receptacle? A garbage can. But you make a living now, speaking ill and foul of your own people. And these same brothers wouldn't dare say that about the LGBT community. They wouldn't dare say it about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But you talk about black folk like they dogs. You talk about each other like you're worse than the vermin that coming out your mouth spit to a curve. You bold when you castrating other black men and women. But when it comes to talking to the real enemies of our people, you sound like a pussycat. You can't hear a rat piss on cotton, you're so quiet. I can never be that brother. And that's why I've kept myself independent.
Let's say you came across a person that you could identify as a person who's caused the black community the most harm, and you had action at going inside of a room with that person one-on-one to make him feel the pain that he caused or she's caused. How would you deliver that?
Oh, brother, my teacher, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, said that all of our people are not going to change on teaching alone. He said, my best followers are in the streets. So if we found a sellout among us, and that is a proven sellout, an unrepentant sellout, well, then we need soldiers. We need brothers who may not be Alpha Phi Alpha or Omega Psi Phi. We love them. But we need them brothers on the corner who've been causing hell in the community to clean themselves up now and stand up and become a part of a unified army of black liberation. So when that sellout among us is unrepentant, there is a black drop squad that will visit them and deal with them the same way America deals with her enemies. Look at what America did to the founder of WikiLeaks. He was an enemy. She went to punish him by any means necessary. Look what America does to those men and women within the government who commit treason against the best interests of America. She punishes them and imprisons them. Look at what America does if you're a domestic terrorist and you're against the best interests of the present residing government of this nation. They'll kill you or imprison you. But we don't have that kind of unity. We don't have that kind of love for one another. If we had that kind of love, many of these head-bowing, knee-bending, butt-kissing, boot-licking Negro leaders among us would be too afraid to sell us out. How many members do you see in our country that is willing to speak against certain nations? No matter what that nation is doing, they won't open their mouth. Even when it looks like they're committing genocide, Netanyahu, American politicians and leaders are silent. You see babies with their heads blown off. And in that country of Palestine, over 60% of the population is under the age of 13. Before the war started, because of the terrorist act of October 13th, Hamas only had a membership of 17,000. But you've killed 60,000 people in Palestine. 60,000. Hell, that's 3 to 4 times the numbers of Hamas. Who are you killing? Because it ain't about Hamas. It's about cleansing that whole area of the native people of that area. And now we got a president in Donald Trump talking about how he looks at Palestine for real estate opportunities. That's the same thing they said in South Africa. When they went and discovered gold and diamonds and mineral riches, they wanted to remove the native black brother and sister because they saw opportunities of economic growth and development, economic exploitation. In Ghana, in Mozambique, even in Libya, all over that region, whenever the colonizer sees economic opportunities, they will remove the native people. And you mean to tell me, Mr. Trump, in a time of genocide and war, you don't want to stop the war. You want to remove the indigenous people for economic opportunities. You sound like your ancestors in America. So what am I saying in saying this, brother? Because the question is, how do we handle those kind of sellouts? Look, we cannot win, nor can we survive if we don't hold each other accountable. But our methodology must never be while we're trying to kill the cancer, we slay the victim at the same time. We have to deal with one another out of love. Even the sellout. I gotta love you enough like grandmama did. I love you so much that you're wrong, I'm gonna take this belt and whoop your ass. And then she would tell us, it's hurting me more than it hurts you.
That's right. Right.
But I got to do this out of love. To every sellout, I love you, but I can't tolerate you. To every boot-licking, handkerchief-head Negro that's in love with your own enemy more than you love your own people. I love you because you're created by God, but I can't live with you.
And I got to whoop your ass.
Exactly, brother. And that's the problem. We love whooping each other for nothing.
Quick too. Quick.
For nothing.
Yeah.
And you see our rappers. And I love hip-hop. I've always loved hip-hop. But you see them having strong courage to slay each other. But they don't slay and talk bad about the FBI. They don't talk that about Homeland Security. They don't talk that about Trump and his administration. They don't talk that kind of talk. They don't threaten them like they threaten each other. And the sad part about it, and I've said this many times publicly, the FBI want to destroy all of them. Here it is, you rappers, our hip-hop artists, you're at each other's throats, and you're being very unmerciful, merciless with each other, but yet you got an enemy that's wanting to destroy the very industry that has made you popular, enrich some of you, and then take and what you're rapping and feed that death and destruction to your own people because they're using you as a vessel, as the weapon of Satan himself. I ask, Brother Will, we sit here. They don't understand the hell you went through when you all made that song No Sellout. Where are the songs No Sellout today? You don't hear them like that. And that was a hell of a damn song, brother. We thought Fight the Power by Public Enemy was raw. That was really raw. Because now you're talking about everybody that's in control of doing wrong to our people. Man, look, I'm 54 years old now. And I am saddened by where we are and what we have become, brother. We're the greatest apologists for everybody else but one another. We seek to show love and empathy and sympathy to everybody else, but we don't show that same empathy and love and sympathy to one another.
How old were you when you realize that this was going to be difficult, more difficult than you thought it was going to be? You know, champion the causes for black people.
To really be honest, 1998, and I joined the Nation of Islam in 1990. But it was 1998 that I really got a real glimpse just how serious these devils are and what they will do to disrupt black organizations, disrupt black leaders. Every youth and young activist or activist, you should absolutely read Operation COINTELPRO. If you don't study J. Edgar Hoover and the counterintelligence program of the FBI against black leaders and black organizations, you're not qualified to lead. You need to see what these people did. Because faces change, but the game remains the same, brother. Man, I'll never forget the most influential man of my life has been the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've had very close friends. And I got to thank Allah for Jay Prince. I really don't talk about that publicly, but that brother, when that man is your friend, he is truly your friend. I remember we were protesting the execution of Shaka Sankofa, then Gary Graham.
I see it like it was today.
And the Republican National Convention was being held in downtown Houston at the George R. Brown Convention Center. And we were organizing an armed protest to take it to the heart of the Republicans. This was 1990. This was 2000.
I thought that was at the Astrodome.
No, it was at the George R. Brown.
I was there. I remember protesting.
No, I think you were there in 92. Was it when George Bush Sr. was running? This was George Bush Jr.
Okay,
You're talking about when Robert Downey was out there in front of the Astrodome, when Robert Downey was out there.
Right.
No, this was in 2000.
Okay.
And we decided that we was going to storm the convention with the guns. The Republican convention. See, these Negroes talk tough. They talk about revolution. I led an armed protest inside the heart of the Republican convention. And we needed assistance. I needed help. And the only one I knew who could help me on that level was Jay Prince. I went to my brother and said, brother, I'm getting ready to hold a protest. Such and such. He said, okay, brother. He gave me the help that I needed. And many questioned him afterwards because it was such a big uproar, what we had done. And I remember what he said to those who were upset that he would help me like that. He said to them, they asked him, why'd you do that? He said, because he's my friend. And that brother withstood the pressure of the government for helping me.
What did that help look like? Can you say that?
Well, he made sure we had gas money, and he made sure we had the transportation necessary to move that large body of men to that location safely. Because we felt if we went in multiple different cars, they would pick off one car at a time. And so we put things in place to where the core of the men would be in one vehicle. That one vehicle was him. He provided that one vehicle. He was the only black man I knew in the city that had that ability to do such. And I went to brother, and he gave me that vehicle. That vehicle went all over the world. The Panthers hopping out that limousine Hummer. AK-47s, AR-15 storming up inside of white folks' heaven at the Republican convention. And the government was angry with him that he did that. They were angry.
Is that the same government who have not been angry when white men and militias and KKK show up with guns at various functions, whether it be the Republican convention, the Democratic convention, the rally for peace, the rally for justice, whatever? It just appears to me that every time these guys who show up who are antithesis of the black community, the police seem to be on their side. They always seem to have a nice little happy welcome when they show up at these sites.
Well, you remember when the young white girl died at the protest on the East Coast, and they questioned Donald Trump about it, and his response was, this was the Proud Boys and white supremacist groups who had united to lead a protest by Take Back America, Not No America, Make America Great Again. These were white supremacist groups identified by the Department of Justice and the FBI as such. And they asked President Trump, what did he think about the protest march? He said, I saw good people on both sides.
Yeah.
That tells you what he thinks. Yeah. That same government took the protesters of January the 6th, who raided the nation's capital, who sought to overthrow a duly elected sitting government, and who threatened to assassinate and kill a vice president and other elected officials. That same president, when he won re-election again, released every one of them from prison. That same President Donald Trump released known Nazis, sympathizers, known Adolf Hitler lovers. He released them when he took his first day of office. All of them. First he lied and said, well, those extremists among them and the most violent ones among them, we will not release. He released every damn one of them. That's what they think. Ray Charles can see what they think. Hell, Stevie Wonder can see it. The question is, do we see it?
Well, what do you think Trump's end goal is? Because that's, if you're on the outside looking in, just on a surface level, that seems absurd to exonerate people who have tried to overthrow your government. I mean, this is the government that you preside over, but granted, at the time, you were ousted when they did that. But now you're back in, and then you turn back and you say, well, forget everything about the Constitution and all of that stuff. I forgive y'all. Everybody cool. Let
me tell you what I see. Donald Trump, no matter what you think about him, is the only president in my lifetime, no matter how crazy or extreme his promises is to his base, he attempted to fulfill every damn promise to them. You gotta be straight up and give him credit for that. Donald Trump, though, has an end game that's on a whole nother level, in my opinion. This man has flirted with the idea and even publicly said it, I could run for a third term. There's ways to do it. And then certain elected officials and pontificators and those who speak on podcasts and media platforms, oh no, it's unconstitutional. Of course he could not. They're lying to the people. Yes, he can. This is how he can do it. He cannot run for president according to the Constitution a third time. He doesn't have to run for president. Just switch roles with J.D. Vance, the vice president, and Trump run on a Vance ticket as the vice president. No, it gets a little deeper. If Trump runs as Vance VP, then Trump goes right back to the White House with a Vance victory. And all J.D. Vance got to do is say, I'm stepping down to become vice president. Then my VP becomes the president. That's how Trump can become the president on a third term. Simple as 1, 2, 3. Just be the VP. Let Vance win. Flip the script.
Well,
same way Biden. When Biden resigned, who became president? Kamala Harris. There was no open election. No, he was in the middle of his term. Kamala Harris became the leading candidate and the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. If the president steps down, the VP becomes president. Gets a little deeper than that, though. So just today, Trump and them had arrested a judge. A judge was arrested for usurping ICE ability to arrest illegal immigrants. So they had the judge arrested for obstruction. So now we arresting judges? And now they took a young Muslim student, male and female, and arrested them on violations of their visa because of their immigration status, and come to find out they had done nothing wrong, but they spoke out against Israel and in support of the Palestinians ending that conflict. So because the sitting government of the nation that you're in with your immigration status can now arrest you on the street because you spoke words that they did not like. That's the new America. And now, to take it even further deeper, they're now putting out, in the name of immigration, U.S. citizens who were not a part of MS-13, not a part of any Latin American gang, no criminal history. They just got caught in the mix-up and deported them. And now Trump is saying, well, we don't have the power to bring them back. I'm not going to even try. So now you got a government expelling their own citizens unjustly. Trump just said 2 weeks ago, I like the idea of sending inmates who've been convicted of crimes and sent to prison because of the prison overcrowding, and we can save money, send them to be housed in third world countries that we can pay to take them. And so now what Trump is saying, instead of building more prisons in America, take our prisoners and ship them out to other countries. And it'll cost us half to pay them what it costs us to house these same prisoners inside of America. And they're going to do it in the name of the war on crime. And they're going to allow crime to be exacerbated in the inner cities of America. And what they're going to do is highlight these crimes so the very people within the Black community and Latino community will say, help us, crime is killing us, it's overriding us, we don't feel safe. So now they'll arrest your children, arrest your young men, convict them of crimes, and then send them overseas because that's where the penal institutions are. And when you go overseas, you no longer have America or American constitutional protections. Oh, this thing is deep. Just 2 days ago, the Trump administration is supporting a movement and legislation to have more babies. Did you hear about that?
I just read about that yesterday. Let me back up. I didn't read about it. I saw a headline. So I didn't get deep into it. What
they want to reward two-party households that have more babies. Because 7 out of 10 Black households is a single female, no male around. So if you're a single female, they ain't got no rewards for you. But if you're married, they want to reward you. And the idea of this came out of Project 2025. So what they're doing is saying to white families and white women, we need you to have more babies, and we're going to financially reward you even up to the 6th child. Do you really think that Donald Trump is pushing legislative benefits for married couples to have more babies because he wants to see Black women with more babies? You think you want to see more Latino women with more babies? No, this is about white women having babies. Because when you look at the birth rate in America, the Black and brown birth rate has always been high, and the white female birth rate has been low. And men like Joe Rogan and men like Tucker Carlson and men like Bill O'Reilly have been talking about the genetic annihilation of white people in America, and they're afraid that America's becoming more brown, not white. And so you want to
Joe
reward.
said something about
Yeah,
the
he talked
annihilation.
about that.
I mean, he talked about it, but did he talk about it where he had fear of it?
He talked about it with one of the hosts on the show where they were talking about how America would no longer be white and how America would cave in on itself. This is heavy, brother. Look at the things I've laid down in front of you, man. All of this has been going on in less than a year from the Trump administration. Where we're headed is on a whole nother level. And while we finger popping, and while we twerking, and while we fantasizing about what rappers got beef and what rappers got conflict, and while we fighting to enjoy entertainment, they are working on a plan to truly take America back. And you can't take America back with a strong black presence. This is real, brother.
You mentioned the youngsters earlier. The youngsters have been betrayed by the media, by music, even by their parents, some of their parents, right? So how do we turn that around? How do we get these youngsters who you called soldiers earlier, how do we get them back in the saddle and savage their future? Because we can't just say this generation is cooked and think it's cool, and walk off and, ride off into the sunset. So how do we get these youngsters back?
We have to first be unafraid of properly informing them and enlightening them of who the real enemy is. And we have to inform them of the plan that's being plotted and put together to destroy them. We have to teach these young brothers and sisters to stop looking at each other as the enemy. To teach young black brothers an adequate and profound knowledge of themselves and help our young people fall in love with themselves, therefore they can fall in love with one another. When you have a people that are in love with one another, they will unite. If black people truly united, it ain't nothing on earth that could stop us. So they must keep us divided. They must keep us one fighting another. Do you know that if Cochise, Sitting Bull, and Geronimo had united, we wouldn't be talking about America like we're talking about it today? But they had to have one tribe fighting another. They had to make sure that the Seminoles were fighting the Chiricahua, and the Chiricahua were fighting the Apache, and the Apache fighting the Arapaho fighting the Navajo, and the Navajo fighting the Seminole. They had to make sure that they all were fighting one another in order to conquer them. That's why they have to make sure that there's beef flowing in the hip-hop community, because hip-hop is the number one influence over the hearts and mind of our young people and our children. If those brothers ever woke up, they are the key to unlocking the revolution of our minds, our hearts, uniting us economically and politically. So they must keep the hip-hop artists who are truly the natural leaders of our people divided and hating one another. Because if you let them unite, brother, they have the power, the platform, to change the shameful and ratchet condition that we're in overnight.
How do we accomplish that when they're being incentivized to be destructive?
You know, it's going to take major hip-hop figures to come together and call this enemy out. Because I'm asking every rapper to think about this. You can call a black woman a whore. You can call her the B word. You can rap about giving her all types of drugs and sexual exploitation. You can rap about killing every black brother you don't like. You can rap about putting the ops into his bedroom when he come home to go to sleep and blowing his brains out. You could talk about robbing black churches, and you could talk about shooting the pastors, and you could talk about selling dope in front of the church. But why you can't say anything like that about the Jewish community? But they are major influential figures who play significant roles from the Jewish community in the music industry. So why is it when Michael Jackson made that song, they don't really care about us? They made him bring himself back into the studio and censor the song. You can't talk like that about them. Why is it that when Eminem said something that was inappropriate to the LGBT community, and why is it when 50 Cent did the same thing, they both had to do duets and go on an apologetic tour to the LGBT community? I ask you rappers, why is it there are certain communities you can't talk about and say anything offensive about or negative about, but them same record executives will let you say it all day, every day about your own people and never tell you there's a problem with it? Never tell you to come back into the studio. You can't talk about black people like that. No, they pat you on your back.
If they did, the crazy part about it, though, if they did say that, all that stuff would be over with overnight.
That's right. And it would completely change the direction of the music. It will completely change the direction of what's being delivered to the young people. But I'm asking you, rappers, why is it they allow you to talk like this about your own people? So filthy and ratchet, but they wouldn't dare let you talk like that about the LGBT community or Israel. Ask yourself that question. And then ask yourself this. What you just said. What if they decided to stop you from doing that about your own people? Then the genre of music would change. The thinking of the people change. You know, brother, Public Enemy got into a lot of trouble.
Salute, my guys.
They got into a lot of trouble because they started talking politics. So you mean to tell me 2 Live Crew didn't get in trouble? We love Brother Luke. But
they got in trouble.
They went after him for censorship, for the imagery. You with me? But why is it you didn't go after our people when we on the cover of albums with a gun to the head of a black man and blood laying all on the ground? That imagery is acceptable. What's going on? We got to wake up and see this reality for what it is. And if we're going to survive what is being planned against us as a people, we cannot do it if we don't learn to love one another.
Quan, I just don't think, let me put it like this. There are a number of us who are on the right page and we are working together and we are trying to make a difference. We're doing what we're doing. We're making a difference. But I do believe as long as we're operating behind enemy lines, and make no mistake, black people in America are behind enemy lines. Not saying that we want it to be that way, but that is the truth. If you look at how everything is designed and the way that we're treated in this country, we're behind enemy lines. The government makes the laws. The government enforces the laws as they choose. So if that's the case, a people can only rise as high as an individual can only rise as high as his people. If you live in a country where the country targets you for failure, I don't give a damn who you are. All of these people that say, well, why the blacks can't do it, why they can't pull themselves. These people came over here and did it. These people came over here and did it. Why they can't do it? Because they're not being targeted by their government for failure. The government makes the laws. The government enforces the laws as they choose. So if the government decides that, anybody but black can have a hotel, anybody but blacks can own this land or build this house, they got ways to make life very, very difficult for you, even if you do somehow slip through the cracks and get to own that piece of property, or you get to own that football team or whatever. They got ways to make life very difficult for you. So it runs me hot when other people, including black people, especially when black people say stuff like, well, they do it and, they come over here and they don't come with nothing, and then next thing you know, because they're not being targeted and the government is not running interference.
Well, they will not. Those immigrants that come to America, it is not fair to compare their plight in America to ours. We have been here a little over 489 years. But for 400 of those years, you robbed the black man of an adequate and thorough knowledge of himself. For 400 of those years, you made it a law that we were not even allowed to read a book. And if we were found reading a book, you would gouge out our eyes and hang the teacher who was instructing slaves to learn how to read. For 400 years, you passed a law before the Supreme Court called the Dred Scott decision that said no white man was duty-bound to respect the constitutional rights of any black person or Negro in America. So legally, by law, you set it up for 400 years to oppress us, suppress us, and literally destroy us. And you never carried out experimental secret experiments on any other group in this country outside of Indians and black people. The Nigerian brother didn't come in America and find the Tuskegee experiment. The Indian coming from India and Pakistan and coming from Iran and Saudi Arabia in the Middle East, you didn't come into America and face experimentation that was purposely by the United States Department of Chemical and Biological Warfare, targeting the children, targeting the men and the women. See, they didn't face the Tuskegee experiment. They didn't face those governmental experiments that they're now admitting to that took place in prisons among and on black men. So how can you, an immigrant coming into America, who now you have good rights, but you would not have those rights if it wasn't for the suffering and the soldiering of black people. All of your civil rights you enjoy, Mr. Hindu, Indian, Pakistani, Muslim, Asian, African brother, sister, it's because of the African-American black man's suffering and plight and his fight for equality in this country that you came in and stepped into a ready-made situation for you to be successful. And we never had to bring you into America and reteach you a knowledge of yourselves. You come in with your culture. You come in with your education. You come in with your spiritual foundations, more ways, no ways, and concepts. You come in with a thorough knowledge of your history. But Jesus said a tree without its roots is a dead tree. You made it a crime for black men and women in America to even know their history or consider even studying it for 400 years. And so if you look at the reality of black life in America, how in the hell you gonna come in as an immigrant and compare your plight to ours? Mm-hmm. And I would say to my African brothers and sisters, I love you, but something's wrong in Mother Africa too. When you got African countries have to make it a law to outlaw bleaching cream. The leading cause of cancer among black women in some parts of Africa is bleaching cream. Why is an African government, if your people are so in love with their Africanness, or you now got to outlaw bleaching cream? See, those same colonizers that bit us, balked and bit you too. So be mindful of the real plight of black people in America. Hell, do you know that some countries in Africa, you cannot even become a lawyer or a teacher without passing the British academic curriculum, the British bar system, the BAR, British Accredited Registry. You got to pass all that in Africa to just become a lawyer. So I would say to my brothers and sisters, we fought like hell to free you in South Africa. We fought like hell in America to end neo-colonial rule and conquest in different parts of Africa. Those same crazy black folk you see on hip-hop videos and on movies and on social media and TikTok, their fathers and mothers fought for Mother Africa right here in America. So when you come in, study us before you cast judgment and take a position on us. Because we was always taught to love you. But you come in looking at us and you go, that's not us. We're not them.
I just can't fathom a mentality like that. I just cannot. I can't wrap my head around that. Are you familiar with Eula McClaney?
No, I'm not.
So Eula McClaney was a black woman who was born in 1914 who amassed over $100 million in wealth in the United States. She was from, where was she? She's from the South. I can't think of the state that she's from right now. Alabama. She's from Alabama. And she moved to California. I believe she's from Alabama. She moved to California. The woman was cold-blooded. She started off selling sweet potato pies at 10 cents a piece. And she sold pies. She took in, what was that? I think it's like foster kids or something. And then within 2 years, she bought her first property. After she bought that property, within 9 years, she had 33 properties. Then she moved to California, bought a motel, and, man, she just took off. But the woman was worth over $100 million. These uncivilized mutts, after she died in 1986, I believe, these uncivilized mutts took all of her money, didn't give her heirs a dime, including her kids. They didn't get any of her money. And it was because she didn't have a will and she didn't take care of her business.
I'm not surprised.
You know, so, but they purposely did that to her so they could take that wealth back. So all of that work that she put in, all of those sacrifices, it was gone overnight.
It sounds like the story similar to Jan Metzenlinger. Mr. Metzenlinger is the one who established the soles to be created a machine to put soles on shoes and bond them together. They stole his invention and said because by law he was not allowed to register a patent. They took it and sold the patent, and guess what they did with the money? They financed the inception of Harvard University with that brother's invention. Brother, in Texas, Montgomery County, Texas, the first black bank owners from California came into Texas, and they opened up the two most successful banks in Texas, in Montgomery County, Texas. When the white folk found out it was black-owned, they trumped up creative financial charges and put both of them brothers in jail and told them they would drop the charges if they handed over control of their bank to new white owners.
And that's the story. That is the story.
All over America.
All over America. When they start talking that pull yourself up by your bootstraps bullshit. Now, that don't mean that we finna lay down. That don't mean that. I'm just saying that context is important. when we start talking about why we don't have this or that, America has purposely been running interference
That's
from
right.
day one, and they're still running interference. So many of our people had land stolen from them.
Oh, yes.
Had their wealth taken. Even when they put their money in these banks, the banks would just straight up take their money and say, you come there to try to make a withdrawal? What you talking about? You raise too much hell, then they come put you in jail. So these games have been played, for centuries. But especially after we went and got our own thing, these people came and just destroyed everything, burned down everything, killed everybody. And this is still going on to this day. Look at the public lynching that's happening right now to Shannon Sharpe. I mean, look at what's happening to Shannon Sharpe. Look at what's happening.
I would give Brother Shannon this advice. Brother, don't stop swinging. When the truth is on your side, you tell it from the highest mountain till you lose the breath in your lungs. Because I honestly, truly believe that brother's being set up. When you look at the attorney, Tony Busby, he went after P. Diddy and still going after him. He was a leading legal firm against Deshaun Watson. And I don't know if those brothers were guilty or not, but a court will have to decide that in P. Diddy's case. He is entitled to due process, and I believe we're reserving judgment until a jury speaks. But when you look at what he attempted to do to Jay-Z, and this man filed a lawsuit and attempted to shake down Jay-Z, and it was an absolute lie. But thank God, Jay-Z had the legal resources to hire the best investigators and legal team to where they countersued Mr. Busby himself. And later, the investigators found out that the girl was absolutely lying about the allegations. Then Mr. Busby had to drop the lawsuit. And now he's after Brother Shannon Sharpe. And when you look at many of our athletes, they are getting caught up with these sexual allegation charges. What I don't like about this is that all women who've been truly victimized deserve justice. But when a woman is found to have lied and she masked her motivation and her motives were not pure but they were wicked, like in the case of Brother Xavier Worthy, the Kansas City receiver from UT, how she lied and said he strangled her and jumped on her and beat her up, but thank God he had camera footage inside the home that proved she was lying. They arrested him, then 2 days later they dropped the charges. There have been multiple cases, like the brother who had a brilliant career at Baylor University, got lied on about rape, but later to learn the woman admitted that she lied but destroyed this man's career. Why is it they are not punished? If the accuser is lying and she's knowingly telling a lie, there should be legal recourse in place to punish the liar also. If we're going to punish the man guilty of it, absolutely. But if she's guilty of lying, where's the punishment for them? Right now, there is no punishment. And they've so monetized lies to where everybody is okay with people just telling lies to get paid.
Are you following the Carmelo Anthony case?
Oh, of course I am.
Yeah, what's your take?
And I've spoken with the family.
Yeah?
I've had conversations, yes.
Where are they as far as mentally?
Brother, they're struggling mentally. When you getting death threats from all different directions about killing the mama, killing the daddy, killing his siblings, burning down the house, afraid to even go in public anywhere because they're now such a severe target of real hate in this country. And then they claim that they raised all of this money and they took the money and bonded them out of jail and bought a new Cadillac and bought a $900,000 home, and all that was a damn lie. And the man that's over the fundraising agency had to admit they have not received a penny. An NBA young boy, from my understanding, stepped up to the plate and bonded young brother out. You know, brother, Carmelo Anthony was 135 pounds. Mr. Metcalf and his brother were both over 200, 6'2", over 220, according to their football details page. So if you're 135 pounds, 5'8", and you got a dude standing over you with his pot, and they both 220, over 6 foot, and threatening you about what they gonna do if you don't move. It was pouring down, raining. That's why he went under that tent. He wasn't committing a crime. He wasn't breaking no rules. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was minding his own business. We have to admit to that. Do I wish he had not used a knife in self-defense? Yes, I wish that. But we have to be honest and consistent in America. How many white men have been allowed to say that they felt threatened by a black man and they killed that black brother, and an all-white jury come back and say not guilty? You mean to tell me that Mr. Penny in New York, who choked that mental health patient, our black brother, to death, and Mr. Penny was not even threatened by that brother on that subway? He was talking crazy to other people, and Mr. Penny, a military veteran, choked that brother to death, and he was never even threatened by him, and the jury said not guilty. Trayvon Martin walking home, Skittles and Arizona tea in his hand. He just going home. George Zimmerman being racist. Look like he don't belong here. Police tell him, leave him alone. We'll send somebody, leave him alone. No, he go and wrestle that kid. And then he kills that young brother. And the all-white jury says he was justified. When you look at Eric Garner standing on the sidewalk in New York, just selling loose cigarettes. And because he ain't paying taxes and it's illegal, a task force jump out on him and strangle him to death with what they admitted was an illegal chokehold. Not guilty. Right here in the city of Houston, Joe Horn saw two black men breaking in his neighbor's house. And those black men was getting ready to leave, and he on the phone with the 911 dispatcher. They say, stay in your house. Don't come out of your house. The police will do their job. Don't approach them. And he says, I'm finna go kill him. And they tell him, no, stay in your house. He goes outside. They running from him with their backs turned, and he shoots multiple shots, killing both of them. And an all-white grand jury in Harris County, Texas said, not guilty. And you wonder why when black folk look at the Carmelo Anthony case, we get angry? Because a black man can't make those self-defense claims if he feels threatened. See, let me show you the hypocrisy of white people with the Carmelo Anthony case. In Belton, Texas, as we sit here right now, there's a trial going on of a young white boy, high school student, who stabbed a Hispanic student to death in the bathroom, and claiming that he was afraid they were about to jump him and beat him up, so he pulled out a knife and stabbed him. He got a bond. He got out on bond. He's on trial right now. Where's the national media attention? Where are all the white groups that's running around America calling this young white kid, his name is Casey? Why are they not calling Casey Allison a scumbag murderer? But Karmelo's a scumbag murderer. Get the cheer. And white folk online talking about they would pay for Karmelo to be killed. But yet a white boy in Belton County, Texas, right now is on trial for the same exact thing that Carmelo Anthony has been charged with. Where's the white outrage?
So why do you think that is? I mean, why is that not white outrage? Why do you have those people out there, those same people who were supportive of George Zimmerman and Daniel Penny, and others who are now looking at the Karmelo situation and said, well, and even the kid that you just mentioned that stabbed the kid in
Belton County, Texas, at Belton High School.
Yeah, so they're not talking about why did he bring a knife to school? Right?
Exactly.
That's the big question. Why did he bring a knife to school?
Ain't nobody calling him a murdering scumbag.
Yeah. So,
ain't nobody saying let's kill him before he go to court. Ain't nobody putting no bounty on his head online talking about killing that young white man.
Yeah.
And the same exact circumstances.
At what point do we stop marching and waiting on Jesus to take the wheel and start defending ourselves like the Constitution says that we can?
The key to that is our rappers. It's not the pastors.
That's
It's
a
not
heavy
the
burden to put on
politicians.
some rappers.
Oh,
People,
but remember, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Right.
To whom much is given, much is required. Our rappers are the match that can light the flame of change among black people. Our athletes also have a platform, but exercise wisdom in using that platform to awaken the consciousness of our people. I believe wholeheartedly that the hip-hop community can become the greatest leaders of black existence in America if they wake up to a conscious level of thinking that is about the upliftment of their people, and they fall in love with that theology. Nothing can stop black people at that point because they are the most influential among our people. We can't just ignore them. We can't try to usurp them, go around them, over and underneath them. No, we have to reach them. We have to wake them up. And then there must be a group of hip-hop artists that hold the fools accountable when you threaten freedom, justice, and equality for black people. We got to go there now.
When you criticize police officers, which you have been known to do allegedly.
All the time, quite a bit.
Yeah. People take exception to that. A lot of people take exception to that. Obviously, there are others who have had bad experiences with cops, and they can relate to what you say, and they can respect it. How do you get people who don't respect it to see things your way when you say, I'm criticizing cops, I'm going to hold them accountable, but at the same time, I do respect, and I respect the job. I support police officers, but I'm holding these devils accountable.
I am pro-honest, pro-righteous police officers and agencies and departments every day of the week. But what we must have are police officers who will pull down the blue wall of silence. Police departments always criticize the no-snitch policy as the reason why crime and murder go unsolved in our community. And they say that we create an environment of protection for criminals with our no-snitch policy, but the police do the same thing with their blue wall of silence.
Absolutely.
And so I'm asking good cops to pull down the blue wall of silence and speak out and expose the corrupt bad ones among you. I'm asking the police the same way you all unite when one cop gets shot by a criminal. You all unite and the mayor and police run to the media and stand united behind a platform condemning the criminal. Do the same thing when you got a corrupt cop among your ranks. And stop punishing the good cops who come out and expose the bad ones. So you condemn when the quote-unquote snitch in the black community, and I don't support snitching, let's be straight up, no. But why would you condemn in our community what's happening in your own police departments? See, there's got to be a cleaning up on both sides. There's got to be a washing on both sides, man. And so I don't hate police. Hell no. I love good cops. But I got a problem when the good cops are silent and blind when they see that criminal conduct of their fellow constituent officers and they don't open their mouth about it. What makes you any better when you don't say anything? Because your silence is condoning it. Your silence is betrayal of the badge when you see it. Man, I remember Robbie Tolan, our brother in Houston, minor league baseball player, was shot down in his own front yard by a Bel Air police officer. And the all-white jury found that cop not guilty. And everything they did, thinking he was driving a stolen car and he was driving his own car, shot in front of his mother in his own yard, an all-white jury said not guilty. And do you know they filled the courtroom up with cops to support this officer? They filled the courtroom up with police to support this cop. Now, could you imagine some brother kill a cop and we fill the courtroom up with respectable black people supporting him? How offensive that would be? How outraged America would be? Well, how do you think black folk feel when you put cops on trial for killing black folk in cold blood and you see a courtroom full of police officers in uniform supporting their comrade? What message are you saying to black people that you really don't give a damn about us?
A courtroom full of police officers who are supposed to be serving that community where they took a life. Absolutely. It's baffling to me. It's baffling. America, 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 how do we as black people, how do we get through this? Like we have survived and we have won so many battles in this country. We're under constant attack. Do you think that we're better off getting the hell up out of here? Or is there a way for us to stay here and get it right, make a better lives for our descendants that ain't going to take another 500 years?
I would say that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan the recipe for that problem, the solution. I would say to white people who say go back to Africa, I'm not against that. I'm really not. And I would say to our African brother and sister who helped put us in slavery, who benefited, and you were blessed by God's grace not to be brought into slavery yourself over here in America, that you owe a debt to your brothers and sisters because you participated knowingly and unknowingly in the Holocaust of your own people. And so the same way Abraham Lincoln set up Liberia for freed slaves, the nation of Liberia, the capital is called Freemanstown because it was established by freed slaves repatriated from America to Africa. So I ain't got no problem going back to Africa, but wait a minute. We've been married for 500 years. And America is a nation of community property. And in some jurisdictions, if you can prove spousal abuse, if you can prove adultery, if you can prove hiding of assets, well then when you go through the divorce proceeding, the greater reward is given to the one who's been victimized. And so I say to America who want black folk to go back to Africa, I have no problem with that, but we got to get a divorce first. And when we're going to get this divorce, we got to divide up this great country of ours. You got to pay us half at least. Because remember, we built this together. And so if you want to send us back, let's tally the toll. Let's add it up. And now, since we can show that you've hidden assets, we need restitution for what you stole and hid in this relationship, in this marriage. And when the judge discovers the truth of you hiding assets, there's penalties. And so, since you promised us 40 acres and a mule after slavery, and you never delivered on that promise, and there was between 3.5 to 4 million black people at that time, it's the same way with a bank loan. When a bank gives you a loan and you fail to pay it back, there's interest plus penalties. And so if we're going to divorce, we need to add up 500 years of interest plus penalties. And then we can talk about going back. But if America pay us what they owe us in this divorce, We got a right to the whole damn country.
I think that's a great idea, man, and I think we should also. How would we split up the military? Because I want some of that too.
Oh, that ain't hard.
How do we split that up?
That ain't hard.
Because we gotta have protection, because you know they coming.
That ain't hard, brother. Because we got all the money going with us. All the assets going with us. So all the military assets, we're going to take 90% of that. Oh, okay, we'll be a little generous. We'll take 75%. Leave you a quarter of the assets. We don't need, brother, nothing but justice. See, and that's what they don't want us talking about. That's why they got black folk angry about DEI. The hell with DEI. DEI ain't nothing but affirmative action. And when you research DEI and affirmative action, the number one benefactors of affirmative action have been white females in America. Not black men and women, but we fought for affirmative action. So keep your affirmative action. Keep your DEI. Pay black people reparations. But if you can keep us focused on crumbs and handouts from the government, we'll never ask you for what you rightfully owe us. If you work a job and you know that you got a check coming at the end of the week, don't let him give you 5% of your check every Friday. Let him pay you what he owes you. And we have earned the right to be paid what they've paid everybody else. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to say this, and I'm not going too much longer. To any white person that say black people shouldn't receive reparations, Google this. America paid reparations to slave owners for the loss of their property. America gave free education. The United States government gave free education to the first two male generations of that man family and paid them per head and gave them free land for the loss of their property. Hell, the white man was paid reparations for slavery ending and the loss of his property. How can you say to us what we don't deserve? And don't tell me no welfare was our payment. To hell with that. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said welfare only meant farewell, turn the word around, farewell to being an independent, productive people. You're looking for the crumbs that fall from somebody else's table to do for you what you should get up, unite, and do for yourself. So no, we don't need that. Keep your DEI. Keep affirmative action. Let's talk about reparations. Let's put a blue ribbon commission together to add them numbers up.
I would be remiss not to challenge you on that DEI thing, especially considering the fact that I talk to my sister, Teslin Figaro, a lot about things like this, and she is adamant that we need DEI, and we can do two things at one time, because although we only get a small percent of those government contracts, those government contracts that we do get are worth millions and millions of dollars, and they do translate into generational wealth for those black people who are lucky enough to get that small percentage of government contracts. So she's saying that we still need we're going to fight to get more of what we're getting already, but we still need to get that, and we can also continue to do our thing and fight, and grind and build like we've always been doing. So she's saying that, hey, yeah, let's not rely solely on DNI, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater either.
And I would say to our sister, I'm sure she's a brilliant black woman, and we need more like her.
She is.
And I'm sure she's in love with black people.
She is.
But I would say to our sister, there's no contractual agreement that we can make with the white man that he's going to honor. Ask the Indians how many contracts he made with them. He broke every damn contract. And now Trump, before he leaves office, is going to destroy and overturn the 1964 Civil Rights Act. He's already doing it. So I say to our sister, we cannot enter into any more contracts with a pathological liar. We cannot enter into any contracts that we can put faith in him, that he'll honor his word. We now got to demand what is owed. What we look like begging for DEI, when it's reparations that we need for this real repair, then we sit down and do business as a superior to a superior, not an inferior to a superior. We can no longer beg him to write something down in a treaty. He'll break it. Do you realize DEI was written into law? Hell, Trump came along with Republicans, they just broke it. Do you realize that they're now threatening to stop funding the African American Museum if we don't rewrite the history in that museum? These are the same people that are now cutting funds to any institution that supports affirmative action on any level. And all of that was written into law. Our brothers and sisters on the plantation can tell you how loyal he is to keeping his word. And when you look at everything they're taking back from us that they wrote into law, they never plan to truly honor that. The Bible teaches the wickedly wise will frame and cover mischief with the law. Hell, the minute they think we get comfortable and complacent, hell, they'll rewrite the law and change it.
Do you hate white people?
Of course not.
How is it that you can criticize white people the way you do and not hate them?
I criticize black people just as hard. And I don't hate my own brothers and sisters.
I'm just asking a question, man, because it seems like people can't figure that part out.
And I'll speak to that. There are some brilliant, good white people who don't believe in none of this foolishness. There are some white people who are so sincere about making America just for everybody. And God is using those same white people to do good in this country. What the hell do I look like condemning that man or woman for their skin color when their character, their work, and their behavior is that of a righteous human being? One thing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us, he said, brother, hate consumes the hater as well as the hated. That white man and woman don't control how they're born into the world. But I'm going to be so damn ignorant and immature and spiritually dead, I'm going to hate them for skin pigmentation. It ain't the skin pigmentation I got a problem with. I got a problem with the mindset of white supremacy. I got a problem with the mindset that says you are better for your color and I'm inferior because of mine. I got a problem with the mindset that taught black children for decades that Tarzan ran the jungle. I got a problem with the mindset that you give us a child sitcom and the only black person on it is Buckwheat, who is so damn mentally dead that you make fun of him as a character. I got a problem with white supremacy that tell black women that you should hate yourselves if you wear your natural hair, but go broke financing weave hair. I hate that mindset. So no, I love all God-fearing, righteous white people. But I don't hate for skin color, man, but I hate the mindset that has poisoned a certain people.
I ain't got no problem with that. Ladies and gentlemen, the leader of the new Black Panther Party.
New Black Panther Nation.
The new Black Panther Nation. How come you said nation instead of party?
Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad was handed the reins, my late teacher, of the new Black Panther Party. And after his death, shortly thereafter, I started the new Black Panther Nation. The greatest mistake that we made after Dr. Khalid's transition is the party went away from the manual, which was the Bible of the new Black Panther Party that he left in place. We were like Christians having church without the Bible, Muslims having mosque ceremonies and prayer service without the Holy Quran. There never should have been a deviation or casting away of Brother Khalid's manual. Because when you did away with the manual, you did away with the law.
You named your kids Farrakhan. last name Farrakhan. And by the way, your kids are exceptional. All of them are doing well. You got at least one lawyer already.
Yes.
You got a kid that's on his way to the pros. He's in college right now.
In Colorado.
Heavily recruited. And how many kids you got all together?
I got all together 6 kids.
You got all together. But you're doing well, and their mothers are also.
Well, I include stepchildren in that also.
Yeah, okay.
That I raised as my own.
But
my biological children, I have one that is a lawyer, Brother Khalid Farrakhan. My daughter, Camille Farrakhan, is now
in law school, right?
Is the dean of her law school at Texas Southern University. She's a dean of her own little group she established and founded herself in the law school there.
Okay.
And my daughter, Janaea, is on her way right there at the door. So soon, by God's grace, I'll have 3 lawyers that are my children in this city. And my son, little Quanell Farrakhan Jr., is in Colorado with Prime. He's a freshman. He is doing very well. In their words, he's exceeding expectations as a freshman. And so I am very blessed by God's grace. But, brother, I'm going to tell you something. A man's greatest legacy is his children. But I warn all of our parents who are God-fearing, when the devil see that you are in love with the Lord, he's going to come after your children with everything he got. The same way he came after the prophets of God, coming after their children and spouses. Be a consistent prayer warrior for your children. And every black father, I don't give a damn what's going on between you and your ex or the mother if you're not together. Don't let hell or high water stop you from being a father. I don't care if you got to pull up with a sign in your hand outside at the corner of where they live saying, I love you, David, and Daddy miss you. I don't care if you got to go to the next door neighbor house and say, my wife won't let me give my son his birthday gift, but can I leave it with you? And when you see my son, will you give it to my son to let my son know that I did not forget him on his birthday? I couldn't bring it to his house, but I left it next door. The same way you can take your paperwork from court and go to the school and say, once a week, I want to come and have lunch with my daughter. I want to come have lunch with my son. The mother and you may have disagreements. Y'all may be falling out over foolishness, but that don't stop you from going to the school if he got a football game, a basketball game, volleyball, softball, or just go have lunch. And let me say this to brothers who are broke. Oh, man, listen to me when I tell you, brothers, this. Just try to save $10 a week. However you got to get it. And take that $10 and go to McDonald's and buy a Happy Meal. Or go to Chick-fil-A and buy a little meal. And go to your child's school and write a note on the bag. I love you. This is from Dad. And then they'll call your child to the office and they'll give your child that lunch and your child will see the little note written to them from you. You are Santa Claus to that child. And even though you can't spend quality time that you would like to, that child knows my daddy loves me because every day on this day of the week, he's bringing me lunch to my school. We got to be creative fathers. In spite of the opposition, we got to be creative to allow nothing to totally disconnect and destroy your relationship with your child.
I'm glad you spoke on that, man, because I actually put out a video a few days ago talking about how they have a hit on black fathers, and they've been having a hit on black fathers for a very long time. Even when a black father is present, they try to make it seem like he's absent. He can be living. I've watched some athletes your son is an athlete, and I'm sure they're gonna try him too.
Oh, yes, sir.
But they just, you ain't got no shortage of seeing the mama in commercials and mama always being mentioned and everything. The daddy can be right there. The daddy could have taught him how to play basketball or football or whatever.
I just had this conversation.
Yeah, the daddy could be right there in his life every day under the same roof and everything, and they will purposely avoid showing that father on camera or talking about the father.
And what they do, if he has an intelligent black father, an engaging, active black father, they'll try to see what your relationship is to the mother. And then if y'all are not on the same page or there's some little weakness,
You go to the mother.
they'll find ways to try to undermine that father by befriending the mother with lies and deceit. And because they want to destroy the relationship with that young man and his father, because his father is a threat to the exploitation industry that awaits the great black athlete. They made LeVar Ball, they made Mr. Ball, they made LeVar look like he was a madman. But he really had the right idea. They made Venus and Serena's father look like a madman, but he had the right plan. They criticized Earl Woods for the way he dealt with Tiger and developed Tiger, but he had the right plan. Man, they talk bad about Brother Primetime in many circles because how active and engaged he is with his sons. They want to break that. Look at Ezekiel Elliott's father. He even talked about the same thing, the threat that they have of present strong black fathers in the lives of prominent black athletes. They destroyed and sabotaged Michael Jackson's father. They wanted to make sure that Matthew Knowles had a destroyed relationship with his family. Oh, man, this is deep. This has been going on, brother. Whenever they see such talent being managed by a strong black father, they're going to find ways to try to sever that relationship. And they don't do that to any of their fathers who are representing their children.
Hell, you don't even hear about the fathers who are the crackheads and dope fiends and none of that. You don't even know nothing about it. They just be moving like, hey, man, it's all beautiful.
Brother, you probably should listen to some of the stories of black quarterback fathers now. Some of the most prominent, successful black quarterbacks at the high school level, collegiate level, and NFL level. If you set them down in this room, my God, they could really tell you some real horror stories of how they've been sabotaged and tried to be destroyed in that relationship to protect their sons.
Well, we know you ain't got no problem protecting yours, you know. And that's beautiful, man. And you ain't got no problem protecting the people, man, and loving on the people, man, and putting in the work like you really are about that action, man. And I can't appreciate you enough, man. We love you.
Thank you, brother.
And
love you too.
And looking for nothing but more of the same, and that's, you know, just being you, man, and being benevolent. You know what I'm saying? Because you're that type of dude, man.
Thank you for having me, dear brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for the honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, good God, Quanell X, the leader of the new Black Panther Nation. You know what? Nation actually sounds better to me than party because party can be misinterpreted, you know? Party can mean like a big celebration or whatever.
I was walking down the street, and I'll end on this, with the late Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad in New York. And he said to me, he said, brother, one day we got to die a party and we got to become a nation. That's where I got the concept from.
No more talk.